had a long, hard winter here on the South Shore, so one beautiful day in May, we headed down to Seoane's Garden Center on Route 18 to indulge our spring fever and spruce up the garden. I wanted to do some work in my yard, so I come in here to Seoane's Garden Center on Route 18 in Abington, and the place is just overflowing with beautiful plants. Look at this color. Not only annuals, but perennials, beautiful flowering trees, shrubs. I figured I could redo my yard in an afternoon, right? That was before I met Jane Seoane and John Adams, or as they like to call themselves, Uncle John and Aunt Jane. They gave me a little lesson about landscaping that I really needed to learn.
The biggest mistake I think people make when they decide that they're going to renovate their yard or put shrubs around a new house is that they rush down to the garden center and they pick out pretty things. They don't take the time to see how big these plants are going to grow in time and if they're appropriate for a certain space in your yard.
Seoane's is huge. 8 acres of plants, thousands of possibilities. It's easy to get overwhelmed. Maybe I did need some help.
What we recommend in that situation is take a photograph of your house, come in and look around as much as you want. And when you come in, go to the cash register and ask for a landscape designer.
But landscape designers are expensive, and I'm on a budget. Then Jane told me that they help do-it-yourselfers like me all the time, and there's no charge for the design. I know Jane told me that I need to be thinking about a plan instead of running in and I like this and I like that and go home with a bunch of stuff and then I have a mess.
It's sort of the higgledy-piggledy,
Correct.
plop,
Yeah.
plop, fizz, fizz type of design.
She said, take a picture of the house, but I guess you want me to draw a diagram.
Yeah, usually just a simple flat diagram that shows the relationship. Let's say we were doing a small cape, the relationship of the windows and the doors to the corner of the house, where the stairs are, how high the stairs are off the ground, how many steps there are to the walkway. And, once we have the whole area sort of quantified with dimensions, then we'll know scale, and then we can choose the plants accordingly that will fit in there. Yeah, I think that good landscape architecture will actually have different shapes or forms in it. Like at the corners, you might have something pyramidal, tall and narrow, or you could use, for instance, a small tree, like a small Sargentina flowering crabapple on the corner of this cape. You could, use a weeping cherry, for instance. A small Japanese maple would be nice.
This is all fine and dandy if you have a brand new house or you have nothing there. But if you're somebody like me who's been planting and planting for years and you've got overcrowding, is there any hope for me?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there certainly is. I mean, you can literally say, I'm going to reorganize this and transplant the plants, take them all out, put them in pots, a ball and burlap them, and move them to a shady location, clean the beds out.
I understand we're going to go take a look at a design you did for a client.
Yes, we will be looking at that. A client brought in a drawing of her home, which with all the dimensions, and requested something that was unique and different, and I think you'll be pleased with what we've come up. When the customer comes in and we do our design work, we come up with a planting diagram and a plant list. We'll show the customer the plants that we've selected for that design. Small weeping dogwood about
that'll be
8
beautiful.
feet high.
That'll be gorgeous.
Yeah, this is a plan that basically we've drawn up from information, as Jane alluded to earlier, that the customer supplied us with dimensions of the house and a picture. And we've drawn a scale plan, quarter inch to the foot, and delineated the beds and chosen the species that we want to use, and created a planting list and also a planting diagram. Just dig the hole at that prescribed point and you can place these plants. The design we just went over is one of the feature plants is this beautiful weeping Kusa Chinese dogwood, which as you can see is very open and flowing, white blossoms mid-June, and then red raspberry-like fruits that'll persist on the plant for quite a few months after that. This will get probably 10 to 12 feet tall and perfect scale with that home, which is at least 2 stories high. and probably 6 or 8 feet wide. So it's a very narrow, very graceful plant. The second plant, which is at the door, which is a really important aspect of this design, is this Tamukiyama Japanese cutleaf maple, which is very spectacular. Lots of great architectural branching, especially in the wintertime when we can actually see the brickwork of that home, because we're not really trying to hide anything on that house. We want to see as much of it as possible. So it's a great complement to the home's color and architectural materials.
John has selected one of my favorite plants to put underneath the windows in the property. This is called the Japanese Andromeda, and it is spectacular all year round. This time of year, the new leaves on the top of the Andromeda turn bright red, and they look like flowers. On top of that, they do have flowers. They've got a lily of the valley type flower, and I've actually cut these and brought them into the house for flower arrangements. This can also be controlled by pruning, and it's just a great plant, sun or shade. It was left to its own devices, planted in the right spot. It could go to 5 feet tall. In this design, the customer will probably choose to prune it every year, and they can keep it to 3 feet. John has chosen this Ryerson Japanese maple to go in between the 2 windows at the garage. It stays green. It's got this fabulous weeping shape to it, and it contorts and it does all kinds of wonderful things as it grows. It also does well in shade and partial sun. This particular tree will look wonderful up against that brick house because, as you can see, in contrast to the red, it just stands right out.
After I talked with Jane and John, I couldn't resist walking through Seoane's, looking at the beautiful trees and shrubs. I'm working on the diagram of my house and my yard and looking forward to getting the help I need to make it as beautiful as what I saw that day.